Kate mentioned In Touch, and I'm looking at the website now, and there is obviously a link there, so I'll make sure that I include all of that. But it was raised at the beginning as everyone was joining about just having a bit of a general discussion about In Touch. Shaf commented that yesterday's programme was interesting, and Ian sort of thought it wasn't. It was interesting in a different way. So, Shaf, did you want to talk about yesterday's In Touch programme and who was on and what they were talking about?
Yeah, so the new RNIB chair was on, and Peter was asking her a ton of questions, and she was kind of evading a lot of the questions. And I understand that she has an obligation to her employer, which would be RNIB. But yeah, it was just interesting to listen to that. I wasn't expecting any huge changes. I felt that, yeah, maybe Peter could have done a little better at asking more direct questions and, you know, being or continuing to ask the questions that were being evaded.
What was she evading, Shaf?
I don't quite remember all the questions.
Can I come in, Louise?
Yes, yeah, I'd just be interested to know what she was being asked that she wasn't comfortable talking about.
She's come from Action for Blind People, which is a charity that RNIB took over a couple of years ago. So she was asked legacy questions about why the services for Action for Blind People were then dumped by RNIB the moment they took them over, and she just said that was before my time. She gave no answer at all. Then she was asked. A listener had phoned in a question in advance about why his child was no longer able to get children's services from the RNIB that they used to get from Action for Blind People. She just said, "Well, that was a fait accompli." That's all she said on it. And then she was asked about funding issues, why the RNIB had struggled for funds in recent years, and she just said, "Oh, we've turned that around now." You know, and there was just nothing. She was giving nothing except really waffling on with a lot of corporate speak. It was extremely disappointing and frustrating interview. She needs to do better than that.
Very much. Sorry.
Yes, carry on, mate.
I said it was very much like listening to an interview with a politician rather than somebody who somebody who was involved in running a national charity. She was very good at evading questions, very good at saying this is things that happened before I came along here. So, and when Peter tried to push her on things, she wriggled out of it very nicely. I think she's looking for a job in politics.
And Peter just let her get away with it. He didn't challenge and come back.
Basically, politics these days.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, his first question was, "Why do you want the job?" And she said, "Because it's an exciting opportunity." And at that point, you thought she's been listening to Boris Johnson's book of politics.
Yeah.
No different to the previous CEO, the one before that. All she's doing is taking the money, smiling, and then she'll clear off. It's a waste of space.
We need someone with a lot more drive and honesty and openness. You know,
need someone who's not a politician. She's a politician.
Mm. And the thing is, I think they've made the mistake that Guide Dogs has often made by bringing in people who were the heads of other organisations, you know, and they've seen how they've performed in those organisations and said, we want you to do the same evasive job for us.
It's
and that never,
that's all it is.
And
that never moves an organisation forward. There's got to be honesty, openness, and dealing with the problems.
Well,
and also the question about hiring more blind people.
Sorry, two people speaking at once. Yeah.
Sorry, Shaf, you were just saying?
The question Pete asked her about hiring more blind people to work at the RNIB. The answer was, outsourcing, and it's up to someone else, not us. So basically completely evading the responsibility there.
She was asked why the visually impaired member of staff was only 14%, and she just didn't directly answer that at all in any way, you know.
Sorry, David, did you want to finish saying something as well? I know there was a slight crossover there.
being facetious. I think that we all should all go and apply for these jobs, and they can have a different roundabout of people who at least might be committed. All they're doing is picking up the money. It's lip service, but this is, as somebody said, it's the same sort of thing you get at guide dogs and all other big eyesight or disability organisations. They just run around, they smile, and they don't get. They talk about passion and commitment, but it's passion and commitment, I'm sorry to say, to their own careers and little else. It's a great shame.
Yeah.
Ah, good feedback. I've not listened. I was saying, unfortunately, I haven't got a lot of time for telly or radio in my life at the moment, but I need to catch up on a few. So.
Yeah, try and give it a listen, Louise. It's a shockingly poor interview.
Jane, would you like to say something?
What program are they actually you all referring to? I don't know this In Touch. How do I get hold of it?
It's a BBC radio program, Radio 4.
8:40.
8:40
on Tuesday.
On Tuesdays.
And is it always about the blind?
Yes.
It's only about blind issues.
It's only, yes.
And it's
thank you very much. Yes, I'll listen to that in the future. I didn't know about it.
It's a very long-standing program, 50 years or more, and it's currently hosted by Peter White.
Yeah, I've been listening to it since the 70s.
Yeah, it's hosted by Peter White, who is blind himself, and he's a long-standing blind journalist.
I'll make sure I put a link in so that, and I've got to send you something else, Jane, reference to sleep survey. So I'll see if I can include a separate link as well to the Radio 4. It'll be on the BBC page. And then do you tend to listen to it on podcast or how are people tuning in? Is it just digitally?
No, I always listen to the Today programme every single morning, but it turns off itself at 8:30. So perhaps I should keep it on a bit longer.
No,
it was 8:40 in the evening on a Tuesday.
Oh wait, in the evening. I beg your pardon. In the evening. Okay.
Yeah, I listened to it through BBC Sounds.
BBC Sounds. Okay.
Yeah.
It used to be on for an hour when I was at school.
Is it just a 30-minute programme now? Is it?
20 minutes now.
That's right. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
And then I stopped listening to it, and then I started again. And I've been listening to it for the last few years.
I know we've talked about it quite a lot because though I don't personally get my time myself to listen to it, I know it is listened to by an awful lot of our clients and service users, and it's something that we've talked about virtually every week. We've mentioned it. I know David in particular mentions sort of, and they've had some amazing things on there. So if you've got iPlayer, Jane, you might be able to listen back to some of the previous sort of weekly sessions that you'll have missed. That will be very interesting. So
yes, I will. I'll make a point of doing that. I think it sounds quite interesting from what people have been saying.
It has got better recently. It has generally got better.
iPhone, if you go to the podcast app and search for In Touch, you can listen through there as well.
Okay, did you get that, Jane? If you've got, Shaf was saying, if you've got an iPhone, you can go to the podcast app and search for In Touch, and you can listen to it through there as well on your iPhone.
Lovely. Thank you very much indeed, Shaf. That's super.
So was there anything else, Shaf? Because I know we've hijacked. I asked you to talk about it, and everyone was like, which is great. That's what it's all about.
No, that's okay. The other thing that was mentioned was London Underground still refusing to assist some blind customers, even though the guidelines have changed and they've been supposedly informed that the rules have changed and they can assist blind people now. But apparently some of the staff are refusing to.
I thought they'd been issued sleeves or something to put over their uniform so visually impaired can hold on to that rather than
apparently some of the staff are refusing to.
Okay.
So it sounded to me a bit like what happens quite often with big organisations. The people at the top have said, "Oh yeah, it's all right, it's sorted," but the message hasn't got through. So it was supposed to have been sorted by the middle of last month, and it doesn't look like it has been.
That's all right to In Touch.
I'm just trying to see. I think Miriam's talking, but Miriam's muted at the moment, so I'm not sure if he's talking to us or.
If he's on a computer, he should be able to use the space key to temporarily unmute.
Okay. Did you get that, Miriam? You should. I think he's going to get his technical assistance. So I was wondering who Miriam was talking to, but I muted Miriam because I'm.
Louise?
Yes, Ian?
Before I forget to mention it, perhaps ask the magazine to put something in about the InTouch programme next time, because if one of us doesn't know about it, it's likely that many others don't know as well.
That's a great idea, actually.
And we are their
Yeah,
target
good
audience.
idea, yeah.
All right.
Is that it?
Yep.
You are back.
He's doing it?
Yep.
Yeah.
You are back, Miriam.
I'm thinking about, could I ask, does this program have a catchphrase which says, does he take sugar?
No, it used to be called that.
That's what I
Pardon?
knew it did.
That was its title many years ago, but it was changed as being, non-compliant with current disability best practice.
And
But
also,
it
wasn't
It is the same program.
It is, yeah.
Oh, lovely. Okay. Thank you.
It was meant to be ironic, but it was being taken literally by too many people.
Well,
Peter White has actually got an MBE as well.
Can
You
I,
know that?
Louise, can I just say that 2 years ago, I went off to see one of my grandchildren in Japan, and I went with a girlfriend who was also widowed, and we were sitting on the plane, kind of enjoying ourselves, and we were given a glass of champagne, and then the stewardess asked my companion, would you like another glass? And she said, oh, yes, please. And she said, would your friend like one? And so Jenny
That's
said, well,
it.
why don't you ask her?
That's it. That is the does he take sugar problem.
Yeah.
Mm.
I have literally been asked. My mother was asked once when we were on a train journey. She was asked by the buffet car guard, "Does he take sugar?" That literally was the question. She just said, "Ask him." Yeah.
Lovely. Lovely.
When you hear it put like that, you suddenly think, yes, how many times have you heard that? So, and it's wrong, isn't it? You've got people not being talked to. I think we mentioned that the other week. I said that I've heard from a couple of guide dog owners about how many people will talk to the guide dogs and not to the guide dog owner.
Indeed.
It's like the guide dog is so intelligent that it's taking in all the instructions. I'm sure that's happened to Martin before now. Yeah.
I remember
If you'd like to hear a funny story,
I've seen that happen.
have you got time for a funny story?
yeah.
Yeah,
When I was training with a previous guide dog, the trainer was behind me 20 or 30 yards, and I had a headset on through which we were talking to each other, sort of hanging around the neck, one of those dongles. And there were two people that I didn't realize walking ahead of us. So we were all walking in the same direction, but I was in the middle between two people ahead and the guide dog trainer behind me. And the guide dog trainer said something to me, which came through the speaker, and I replied. And then the two people in front turned around and said, "Oh my God, the dog can talk."
That's better.
I like that.
That was better than alternative comedy.
Well, I hope you're going to come armed with some good stories like that next week, actually, after the session, just to make us smile. But no, well, I know Karina, one of our service users up in the Nuneatons, told me a few stories about people sort of, asking for directions and then them bending down and talking to the dog.
Yeah.
Ian?
Yes, hello?
It's Kate. I don't know if I've remembered this correctly, but I thought there used to be two programs, one called In Touch, which is the one we've been talking about, and also a separate program called Does He Take Sugar, which used to be on a Thursday evening.
You could well be right.
I remember there used to be two
right.
programs.
You could well be right. My memory may be fading there. You might very well be right. But the Does He Take Sugar is discontinued, hasn't it?
Yes, I believe it has.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I think you're right. I think my memory was wrong there.
So that's great. Okay, brilliant. Well, that's thanks, Shaf, for starting that conversation in relation to In Touch. Now, I know I've got a few things on my list here, but before I start going through them, is there anybody else that has sort of come to the meeting today with something in particular burning that they would like to talk about?
Yes, I wouldn't mind. This is a cheerful thing. It's Kate. I use my local Sainsbury's, and I just find their customer service great. And they've got the music on at the moment. They've got the music on at the Christmas music when you're shopping. And when I was at the till paying today, the assistant was singing in that. We were just having a sing along to the record that was on. And I just think their customer service is so good because there's always people around.
Yeah.
And if I can't find anything, they'll always come and help me. They'll stop what they're doing if they're stacking the shelves and just come and help. And I just think they're brilliant.
I missed the beginning. What was the store?
Sainsbury's.
Yes, positivity about Sainsbury's customer service.
In Leamington?
Yes.
No, that'll be Nuneaton. Will it be Nuneaton?
Yeah, it's the one. It's the one just opposite the library. Yes.
Oh, okay, right. Very good.
You would hope that people would be like that sort of all the time. I know we don't always hear positive stories, but Rose, did you want to say something then?
Well, only that I did have trouble with Sainsbury's when we first went into lockdown. They said they would. They said they would recognise those who needed help. That is, those who are over 70, and we would hear from them. But I didn't, and it took me 2 months before I was accepted onto the vulnerable list.
Yeah,
I had the same experience, Rose. Yeah, exactly the same.
I had the same experience as well.
Yeah.
Tesco's were marvellous, but Sainsbury's were awful.
Yeah, Tesco have been brilliant.
That must vary from supermarket to supermarket because Sainsbury's in Warwick have been brilliant with me.
Yeah. Very good.
I think with Sainsbury's, you either did get in before they reached their maximum or you didn't. And if you didn't get in, they didn't adapt their service to take on more people. I think you just had to get into dead men's shoes, you know. So,
well, you did. No, they were supposed to, you know, when you register to go online, you have to give your age.
Yeah.
So they said on that basis they knew who was over 70 and therefore who to contact.
That's right.
I mean, I'd registered. I've been registered for years before that happened.
And
so there's no excuse on that basis.
And I was put on the government's priority list, and I still couldn't get a Sainsbury's delivery.
Oh no, I wasn't. Oh well, you see, I wasn't. I didn't have any health problems.
Yeah.
Other than my age.
Yeah.
Let's hope it doesn't happen because I think we're going to have problems in January when there's a shortage of stuff in the shops. And
let's hope people don't stockpile before New Year. You know.
I think that's the right, really. At the end of the day, those people that probably stockpiled sort of trolley loads of toilet rolls are probably still going through them 6 months later, 9 months later. So if people are sensible about it, the supply chain is there and the infrastructure, it'll be okay. It's just making sure there isn't that mass panic, really.
And the shortages in January are meant to be only imported products from the EU. So you might be short of French Golden Delicious and Glühwein and maybe some bratwurst, but
Brie,
and Brie, and maybe a bit of Dutch cheese. But it's not going to be things that you can't find an alternative for.
No, it's going to be things like fresh veg, which is bothering me because Sainsbury's says it gets 40% fresh veg is imported, so there's going to be a shortage of that.
Yeah, we'll just have to have some alternative.
Let them eat cake.
Indeed. Except ginger cake. Apparently the ginger harvest has failed. So after this Christmas, there's going to be no ginger products. So if you like your ginger nuts, get them in.
But it's a very good.
Okay, stockpile ginger nuts.
Sorry, what was that?
Very good year for Brussels sprouts this year.
Oh, there's no good year for Brussels sprouts.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, good for you.
Every year that there's Brussels sprouts is a bad year.
I think I've got Robert in the corner who's been patiently waiting. Robert, do you want to say something?
Yeah, you're talking about Sainsbury's. One of the things, when I get upstairs on the wall, and it says that we've got to look out for people who are vulnerable, age, people with dementia and all that sort of thing. So it does say people about different sorts of people, different disabilities. for people with autism and all sorts.
What, the staff guidance that you've got?
Pardon?
The staff guidance that you have?
Yes and no, yeah. I've
You made
noticed
reference to
some
something being on a wall, so I'm assuming it's some sort of sign or some information that is available at
Yeah, well,
Sainsbury's.
the only thing it doesn't say is it's about visually impaired people, and I have mentioned that, and that's one of the things it doesn't say on the wall. I've mentioned that to my cyclist advisor. I've mentioned it to RNIB. I've mentioned it to a lot of people, and that's one of the things. I think it's wrong. It's discrimination.
Robert.
Yeah.
It's Kate. Can I ask you what you do in Sainsbury's?
Well, I used to do trolleys for 30 years. And then I had a cyclist advisor. I was having a bit of trouble at work. And then they took me off trolleys and put me in the shop. And then I put on shop floor. And my cyclist advisor, when I had access to work, she said, I didn't want you to work on trolleys in the winter, in the winter. And then I went to, I was told to go up in the coffee shop in February. Then I came back down because of COVID. Then I went back in October and then come back last month. So, and I've been there 31 years now. So I've done three different sorts of jobs, really.
So what do you actually do now then? Do you work on the till?
No. Oh, God, no. They'd be there. And they'd be all there all day, all week.
You'd be giving all Sainsbury's money away.
I've worked on the till. Yeah.
What do you actually
now I just do shop
then?
floor. Or,
do you actually help
doing the
stack
cardboard, bringing dressing, stacking the shelves. I don't put things on the shelves. Anything that needs being brought forward, in other words, dressing, I do all that sort of thing. But I did 30 years on trolleys.
So do you actually bring the things in like from the vans? Is that what you mean?
No.
No, you know how things get.
Pardon?
You know how things get straightened up. On shelves,
I do.
Kate?
Yeah.
You know how they like to make sure everything's looking like it's all standing to attention. I think Robert's saying that he basically keeps everything really neat and makes sure all of the shelves look really neat.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So keeping shelves tidy.
Yeah. So that's great. Well, thank you for that.
I nearly left because of my sight 4 years ago when macula. And then, of course, I was told I got macula, and I was told that I'd be silly to go and I'd lose a lot. So I stayed on and got dark glasses and everything. And so I normally wear dark glasses when I'm at work, but when I'm inside, because it's too dark for the dark glasses. And so, with the bright lights, of course, with my macula, I have to wear dark and the other dark glasses as well.
Yeah, don't voluntarily leave, mate. Don't voluntarily leave.
No,
don't do that.
It did get to me actually.
Because they will disable pension you if you.
Because they
are able
did
to
get
disable
to me,
pension
but it does
you,
when you're visually impaired.
Yeah,
it's not easy.
Keep your spirits up.
And with my visual impairment, it's not easy to get a lot of help all the time. I'm the only one who's visually impaired at work.
How many years do you have to retirement?
Got over it. I've got another 6 years left.
Okay, well you're well within the area that they would normally early retire you for disability.
Yeah. 5 in March.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think hold on, and that will come up. I'm sure that'll come up as an option quite soon for you. Yeah.
Could I say, Robert, that after last week's meeting where the chap was describing the night vision glasses and things, have you tried a pair of glasses with a amber or a bronze lens for inside?
No, because they're too bright. I've got the. Hold on a minute.
Because I find the amber and the bronze lenses bring in a lot more light, and you can see a lot more. You can see a lot more and clearer.
Oh no! I can see all right with them. They're the ones I've got.
They are.
Yep. And my normal dark glasses.
Yeah.
Let's get them out the other one.
My name's Alex. I'm a local energy advisor in your postcode area. I understand you are the homeowner.
Oh, I'm going to mute.
What's that
Jane.
about?
She's got a telephone call. That's okay. I think it was just Jane. It's a very busy lady.
Louise, while Robert's doing that, could I just ask? I've got to leave in about 15 minutes. Is there any chance we could do Vassar before I leave?
We can, yes, yeah. Robert, we can see your glasses. We can see your glasses there. So that's sort of demonstrated. Obviously, everybody even if you have the same condition, it doesn't necessarily mean that the same length of glass is going to work for people. So obviously what Robert's got are the darker ones for when he's...
Well, I've got myopic macula where you can see large print, but you can't see small print.
No.
No.
Well, I think what you do and keep going, keep working, as Ian said, is really important. I think the message that you said the message that you said that's up on the wall, though, is interesting. That the fact that they identify who they should actually be thinking of as far as like helping people. But my attitude to customer service is it shouldn't be a matter of singling people out. It should be a matter of being able to support everybody. But you know, we have to wait and see, but at least they've got some guidance for staff. Right, what we're going to do, Robert, is I'm just going to move on to a question that Ian raised a week or so ago, which was in relation to Vassar, the transport system. For those of you that are in the Stratford area, you probably got some awareness of this. It's the vassar.org, because in the past, well, not only do they obviously support people with transport to hospitals and appointments, but we have actually used them to support our Stratford social club. Now, your question here is, I've not heard of it before, Vassar, but it apparently offers volunteer drivers for visually impaired people, at least in the Stratford area, and I assume more widely. I understand they charge 45p per mile for drivers to collect and return VI people for appointments, and they're currently doing a recruitment drive for volunteers to take people to COVID tests. Would you please have an investigation for future meeting info? You're quite right, it is, as it says, it is very much in the Stratford area. There are other organisations in different parts of the county that do similar things. So Rugby Transport Service, they've got their own one up in the north. Like I say, we actually tap into Vassar for our social club. But unfortunately, even if our social club was active at the moment, Vassar current COVID policy is that they will only do hospital appointments.
Right.
But if you're thinking about whether or not there is a similar one in Leamington, I'm sure there is, and I've got it on, we've got one of the, I can probably send you some information about it.
It would be helpful if you could pop it into the magazine, please, Louise. Then everybody gets to see it.
Yeah, well, obviously I'll add it to the list that, you know, that we can sort of, try to work out how we put it in. We don't want, what we're conscious of with the magazine is not just frittering it with a list of links or contacts. We'll need to obviously put some context around it.
That's right.
Like I say, there's Vassar in Stratford, there's definitely Rugby Transport Service, which is done by the council. And there are a combination of them that are done by local authorities or by voluntary organisations. Right. So I'll add that to the list as well, Ian.
Sure. And then if there's an article that you've published before, you can just reuse it, you know, because if I've never heard of it, I've lived in Leamington for 22 years and I've never heard of Vassar. So, you know, obviously it doesn't apply to me personally, but there may be many people who don't know about it.
Yeah, I would think for those in the Stratford area, they possibly have. But do we have, I know we've got Jane, you're muted at the moment, Jane. I muted you again because of your call.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's better. We can hear you now. You're Stratford.
I use Vassar a huge amount. And when my husband was ill, we had to go to Warwick Hospital every day for chemotherapy. They were absolutely brilliant.
Right.
I think it's been a wonderful service. They're all volunteers. You pay I think it's either £2.50 or £3 booking charge. They like to have 3 or 4 days notice. You can ask if you want a male driver or a female driver. The driver stays with you and then brings you home. I think it's a wonderful service, and I think we pay. Is it 40p a mile?
45p a mile, yeah.
Right.
just having a quick look actually, because obviously the first thing I got up was about it just being in Stratford, but there is another element of there. When you, I don't know if they do it just for the SEO, the search engine optimization, they end up putting lots of details about other places that they actually support, because
Right.
Wellesbourne and Leamington came up, but now I'm actually in the website, it's gone back to being very much Stratford related, Stratford Town Trust and Lottery Community Fund. What I'll do, Ian, is I'll just do a tiny bit of research, pop something in the update, and I've added it to the list of things that possibly we could include within the magazine as a directive of information.
Yeah.
For people. So
and if you would, their call out for volunteers, drivers as well. If
yes,
if we could support them with that.
Yeah.
They're in Southam.
Sorry.
They are in Southam because Southam Club always used them when they couldn't get volunteer drivers. They used Vassar drivers.
Southam's within the borough of Stratford, isn't it?
Stratford, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably why I'm seeing Wellesbourne come up then as well, because that's probably from Stratford District Council.
That will be Stratford as well. Yeah.
Okay, Robert, are you going now, or are you just trying to? Your eyes?
Got another hour with you. Well, 3/4 of an hour.
Oh God.
Something I've got to say, which might be useful to put into the magazine. When I go to Teignmouth, or any other time, you know, with if I'm on my own, I get journey care on the train.
Yes, very good.
That might be a good idea to put in the magazine.
Indeed, yes, very good journey care.
It's called different things by different rail companies, though, isn't it? I believe.
It used to be called Virgin Journey Care until Virgin's franchise ended. Now it's just called Journey Care, but I think some of the operators badge their own name on it as well.
Yeah, they tend to travel.
08000 158
That's right. It's one common number now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you need to give them a couple of days' notice as well, so they can. I've
Yes,
used it
that's
once
right. Yeah.
with my mum, and you give them a couple of days' notice, and they literally, she felt like a first-class passenger, but she got whisked off of one, and they held a train up, and they popped her onto another train. And,
Well, there have been times, Louise, when I was being helped by Journey Care. There have been times when, if someone's sitting in my seat already in the second class in the standard, they just say, "Oh, bugger it," and they put you in the first class. And then you get a free coffee as well.
Yeah, I've been putting first class.
Good thing is,
worth it just for that.
A good thing is if someone's in your seat, they have to get out your seat, and they'll take your case for you. They'll put it on the train for you and put it on the thing. They're ever so good. I've been using it the last 5 years. Never knew anything about it.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Chiltern Rail are very, very efficient as well. Last year I was going down to stay with my daughter in London. Had a taxi to Leamington, got on the London train there, and by the time we got to Banbridge, had stopped because somebody had thrown, very inconsiderately, thrown themselves on the line, and so everything was held up. And they actually put me in a taxi all the way down to Chiswick, where my daughter is, and at their cost, which I thought was extremely good. Yeah. My daughter wrote to them and thanked them very much, and they said, well, you know, you use the service, it's up to us to see you get there.
All you have...
that was good service, wasn't it?
Yeah,
that was brilliant. It was really
brilliant service. Yeah.
Can I tell you another funny story?
Go on, Ian.
I had really good service from Journey Care once before, and I wrote them a complimentary letter, you know, telling them how great it was, and they wrote back to me saying, "Sorry to hear about your complaint. We'll look into it."
Oh, they do that. Yeah. Standard reply.
That's right.
They've done that to me as well, Ian.
They can't take a compliment.
They've done that to me loads of times.
Shocking though that they don't read it, and it's some automated response or whatever, isn't it? But
it is. It's a standard response within a number of days, you know.
Just because you're going to disappear in 5 minutes, Ian, I just thought, right, before you go, tell everybody how you got on with the Stratford Wheel from an accessibility, your visit.
Right, yes. Yeah, well, as it was a sunny day yesterday, my partner and I popped over to Stratford to go on the wheel, following the directions that the Mayor of Stratford kindly gave us the other week, and we arrived, and obviously my sighted partner was showing me the way to go. So there's a ramp up to the ticket office. There's a very friendly staff on there. I asked for 1+1, which they don't have to give, but I asked for it anyway, and he did sell me 1 ticket and a free carer. And we followed the a very easy to follow route round to join the wheel, and they actually spun the wheel round to the pod, which is disabled accessible. So you go on, if you like, everybody who's got no access problems walks in the front door of a pod, but this particular one has a ramp that comes out the back. So you essentially follow the pod round and come up a ramp into the back, which is suitable for wheelchair and for cane users. And they waited till we were properly sat down and then stowed the ramp away, and then we had our ride. And similarly, when the ride came to an end, they held us steady rather than the wheel still being in motion, and brought the ramp for us, and we got off nice and safely. It was excellent service and very disabled accessible. Lovely.
Very good.
Yes,
Couldn't see much from the top, of course, but
it was the motion. It felt good. But can you just tell us? I'm going to put a little something in the update. But how much is it to go on the wheel? Just out of interest.
They charged me £6 for 1 ticket and free for a carer.
And you say that's discretionary for them to give the +1, is it?
No, it's discretionary under the law whether to give a free carer or not, but most organisations do if you ask. But they may not think to do it if you don't ask. If you just say 2, you might get charged for 2.
Yeah, you get charged for 2.
Always say 1+1 or 1 plus carer, and generally most organisations will say, of course, we'll just charge for the disabled person and the carer goes free. That applies to most organisations.
Could you take your dog with you?
Yes, yep, completely accessible. There's a ramp, and I don't have a dog at the moment, but you could easily take your dog with you. And the disabled compartment just has 1 seat to either side, which is designed to, instead of for 4 people, it's designed for 2, so that you have more space to get a wheelchair in. So yeah, it's completely accessible for cane users, dog users, wheelchair users. Even if you had a pram, if you weren't disabled at all, but you had a pram, it would be easy access. Yeah, so a very positive experience.
Good, thank you. Great.
Louise, I often go to the theatre when it's open. I always go to the touch tours beforehand. In fairness, I do only go to see the productions where I know the story. But I find the Stratford theatre people extremely good with me. Extremely good. I've never had anything but a positive experience there, and I do go a lot.
That's very good.
Yeah, well, hopefully once they get back open again, I know they'll be desperate for everybody to patronise the theatres.
Absolutely.
So that's really good. And I haven't done it for a long time, but I know when I first joined WVS, I did circulate some information around unfortunately, because of the timing of it, I only tended to do it by email, but around accessible, audio described performances at various different theatres. So hopefully when they're up and running again, we can maybe sort of try and link in and promote that, definitely.
Yeah.
Louise, talking of theatres, have you heard anything from the Coventry Belgrade about how to access the pantomime?
Well, not since I gave the last update, Kate, which was a few weeks ago. I gave an update. They basically said that if you purchase a ticket, if you purchase them online, you will then be sent an email with a link, and you can obviously watch it. You can't watch it unless you've got a device, a bit like Michael, who joins us sometimes, who actually streams his through to his telly.
But you can't speak to them on the phone then and order the ticket and then send you the link.
No, what you could probably do, Kate, is phone them and see whether or not the voicemailers are now taking messages, because we're in December. But when I called in December, it was directing me to leave an email, which is what I did, and then they responded to the email. So that would be the only other way, if you wanted to physically speak to somebody, is to call it again and see whether or not they've changed their recording so that you can now actually leave a message reference trying to order over the phone and make payment over the phone.
Otherwise, you pay online and then they send you a link to view it then?
They send you a link via email, yes, to view it, yeah. And it's viewable, like I say, on whatever device that you have, your computer, or tablet or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think once you've got it, you can watch it as many times as you want.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. That's my understanding. So,
Louise, before I go, could I just ask Kate, did she get the talking calculator okay?
No, I
Has it
haven't
not come
had it
yet?
no,
All right.
Vicky's
It's
got
making its
that.
way to you somewhere.
Yeah, no, Vicky will have that. It'll just be a matter of when she can get out to deliver it. But
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Right, so
We've got that ready now, so that'll be on its way.
okay, I'm going to say goodbye, everybody. Thanks,
right,
Louise.
See you next week, then.
Yep. See you
Bye.
next week. Bring your jokes.
Some good stories next week.
Bring your jokes.
Bring your jokes. Definitely come with your jokes and your
I
tinsel.
won't be here.
Okay, I thought then I just really, if there was, unless anyone else has got anything that they want to talk about topic-wise, obviously there have been some changes to the Christmas restrictions, so I just thought we'd just spend a few minutes before we close just talking about, you know, what people are doing and how they're going to work it over Christmas. Kath, you've got your hand up first.
Can I just ask that some of the information we've been talking about just now would really lend itself to being on the website? Because you read it in one edition of the magazine and then you forget. So are you now able to put that sort of stuff more on the website?
Yeah, we are. Obviously, all of our magazines are now actually always on the website.
I mean, actually,
No, I know. I'm just about to.
Yeah,
so all of our magazines are on the website, but since we've been running these particular types of meetings, the audio, not the video, even though I'm recording it, the audio from the meeting, I edit only briefly, just sometimes to take out some of the beginning bits. They're now available on the website, and also I do a little bit of a blog, which in effect is the email that I send out as the update. So there is an email update about what we talk about on the website, and obviously there are links that I send out in our update directing you to the specific page, but they should be reasonably easy to find.
But I was just thinking a more direct, you know, like a link to transport options.
Yeah, we could do a directory page. Yeah,
Vassar and Journey Planner or whatever, and bus passes and all that sort of thing.
No, I will speak to we've got a new chap who started, Sam, and he is our communications officer now, digital communications marketing officer. So he should be responsible for the website. So I will speak to him about trying to make sure we either add a page with lots of links in. And I know what his responsibility is. Can you put the information together first and then do it? So yes, I think it's a really good valid point, Kath, that we should have maybe a signposting point for all of the various different agencies. So yeah, we'll have a look at that. Yeah.
Louise, this Andrew Baker, I think it's Baker, the mobility officer, does he still work at Warwickshire Vision?
Oh yes, he does. Yeah.
Yeah.
He does, Kath. Yeah, Kate.
Oh, that's all right then.
All right. Was there did you want a message going to him, or?
Well, I wanted to email him. I just wanted to update him on something that I've done and just ask him something, but it's not urgent.
Yeah, you know the format for my email address. It tends to be louise.jelly@Warwickshire.
Yeah.
If you wanted to update Andrew, then it would be andrew.baker.
And that what's that at Warwickshire Vision?
At Warwickshire.vision, yeah. I'm just literally going to double check because I hate giving people information out and they're suddenly thinking, but it shouldn't be any different format. It should be the same format as mine. So
there's no .co.uk or anything at the end?
No, we're a little bit weird. Some email providers don't accept Warwickshire Vision emails because we are just our name at Warwickshire Vision. But Andrew is andrew.baker@Warwickshire.vision.
Oh, okay. Okay, brilliant.
So you can update him if you want direct. And
Andrew Baker.
Yeah. So. Okay, so signposting of agencies on website, Kath, that's great. Okay, so I was going to talk then just very quickly then about, obviously there's some slight changes. Who's got, you know, what are people doing for Christmas? I think we've got Debbie down there. I've not really heard from Debbie today.
Yeah.
Debbie, are you at home for Christmas? So you got?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I am.
And is it just You and your husband?
No, I've got my mum.
Yeah.
She's coming for dinner.
So hopefully, yeah. Well, they've said basically that they're not going to change the actual main plan, which is allowing 3 households, but they have obviously said there's a few extra restrictions. Scotland have limited it to 8. Is anyone travelling for Christmas?
No.
No, not going to risk
Louise,
it.
Louise, could I go to one son one day and the other son the next?
No.
No.
I think no, you can't. I think it tends to be one household over that period of time. But I think when we first started the meeting today, we had a bit of a discussion around the COVID rules, and we were all basically saying that they're as clear as mud. So
yes, they are.
What I wouldn't want to do is wrongly interpret them for you. I'm just literally BBC. I had the news up a minute ago. Christmas restrictions. Basically, the list is you can have your bubble, which is 3 households form a bubble from the 23rd to 27th. So I suppose if technically you plus your 2 sons are the 3 households, then that's a bubble. But if your son has a different household, join them on a different day, that suddenly makes 4 people in the bubble, doesn't it? And that's where the problem comes. I think what they're saying is it can only be a maximum of 3 households who are in the same bubble for that period of time.
Oh, over that. So in other words, no chopping and changing.
No chopping and changing, yeah. So again, if it's a matter of it's what your number 1 son and number 2 son plus you, then as long as your number 1 and number 2 son don't add anyone else into their bubble apart from you, then your 2 sons and you form a bubble. But if on a different day they have another grandparent or
yes, which is the problem, of course.
Yeah, and another son, and all of a sudden you've got 4 and 5 bubble. You've got 4 and 5 households, and I think that's where my interpretation of the restrictions. No, you couldn't do that.
I think that's probably my interpretation. I was wondering if I could spend Christmas Day with one and then go off to the Boxing Day with the other. But the fact that the other grandmother has been there the day that I wasn't
behind.
Yeah, it suddenly becomes that fourth household then technically.
Thanks very much. I think we thought that actually that was going to be the case. Thank you.
Don't quote me on it, but that's my interpretation as well, just looking at it.
Okay.
It says, there was one thing, it says you can't go into a pub or restaurant with your bubble. So not that we can at the moment because we're tier 3, but
right.
Obviously going out as well, you're limited to purely takeaways and lots of walks.
Are we going to be reduced today to tier 2?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. They've put it off, have they?
Have they?
Tomorrow.
Yes. It was Wednesday. Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah,
no, they've changed it for tomorrow.
Yeah. I think
it was that they were due to be reviewing it today.
Yeah.
Yes,
and then making an announcement tomorrow, I guess.
Yeah.
Thank you.
According to the Courier, about 6 hours ago, it says that this decision might be announced today, Wednesday, or tomorrow. This is yet to be confirmed.
Right.
I think the numbers have not been too bad in Warwickshire. Unfortunately, it's everywhere else which is the problem. And and the reality is, if we go into tier 2 and they open everything up for sort of 10 days, 8 days. You know, it's
a bit risky.
It is a bit of a risk, isn't it? So Mark, I've not spoken to you today. So Mark, what are your plans? Are you around for Christmas or?
I'm going to my sister's for a day.
A day.
But she's local.
Good.
So,
and when have you got
there's
your
only
plans?
3 of us, so we're not going to my great niece's, and so yeah.
Good. And when have you got your virtual Christmas lunch cooking session that you're doing?
Friday this week.
Friday this week. Okay. Now
What does that consist of?
It consists of everyone having a meal, which is roughly the same meal at the same time on Zoom.
Oh, how lovely!
With entertainment.
Lovely.
So we've been organising the entertainment. We're also going to have an online auction. So I'm auctioning off some plants. and somebody else is auctioning off some other things, and somebody else is doing some singing, playing some stuff off his latest album. So yeah, there you go.
What a love! What time of day does this take place?
This is evening, Friday evening.
So it's going to be a late evening.
Very late, quite a few hours. Somebody actually signed up Zoom.
Have a good time.
Just for this. And my next door neighbour is joining in, so he's going to join in on my Wi-Fi by it going through the terraced house wall. And I've got a device which will pick up on that, and I'm waiting for the latest software so it can actually work on Zoom as well.
Oh, brilliant! Have a great evening.
A lovely idea.
You'll have to tell us if you're going to join us next Wednesday. You'll have to tell us how you got on.
Yes, I've got a joke just for Ian. Remind me next Wednesday I have a joke purely for Ian, because he'll appreciate it.
Good. And who else haven't we heard from? Martin, what are you up to actually for Christmas?
Oh, well, I'll be going down to my mum and dad's down, which is within walking distance, so that's fine. Because I live on my own, we're a bubble anyway. And then my sister and her husband are coming over in the afternoon for a glass of wine and opening presents. So it should be different. And we'll have a Zoom meeting with the Welsh contingent at some point in the afternoon as well, so we'll get to see each other and raise a glass.
Good. And what does Wheeler think of it all? Is he one of these dogs that would rip open everything if he was given the chance?
Only if it's something edible.
Carrots.
Have to keep the chocolates.
Oh, definitely carrots. Yes,
carrots.
That's it. He eats that many carrots. He ought to be orange, not black.
Sounds like a horse.
I hope you're compensating for his loss of our carrots.
Yes, he's getting donations off both of the market stalls.
Is he all right? Good.
Oh, lovely.
And what about David?
Got it. That's all right. You caught me on
What?
and I apologise.
No, I just thinking on here.
Right, Christmas. It's still being negotiated. I have a very elderly father who is local, and myself, my sister and brother-in-law are trying to make him realise that COVID is serious. He is in relatively advanced stages of dementia. So trying to stop him inviting other people round is challenging. But I think what will happen is that there will be, I hope, a bubble of three that we can, if we can convince me father, 3 means 3, spend Christmas Day with him in the hope that he at least enjoys it. He's pretty gloomy because he's living on his own and pretty fed up with life at the moment. It's tough for those on their own. My sister isn't local anymore. She's over in Lincolnshire, but she is being classed as a carer as well. So I'm hoping at least the basic family will get together come Christmas Day. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, yeah. I know it is very challenging, and as you say, for those individuals that are not only on their own but also have maybe dementia and struggle with the understanding around the seriousness of it, they don't.
It's quite frightening. It's a bit like dealing with a very elderly, angry child when you tell them that they can't do something. I mean, it's ironic considering they used to tell us off when we were little. Now we're telling them off. Don't understand why, so it's pretty sad. But this is the heartbreaking bit of dementia and Alzheimer's and whatever else.
It is, no, definitely. So, well, it sounds like you have a plan, which is half the battle, I think, isn't it, at the moment? Or any plans, I think.
We've got the plan, but you keep buggering it up, and this is the problem.
Yeah. 2021 is going to be known for having to be flexible, isn't it? And just changing constantly. And
it can't be any worse than this year.
No.
Really can't.
Yeah. Well, 2020 will be known for being flexible, and 21 hopefully will. Yeah. But,
we might have learned a few lessons by then. Yeah.
Definitely. Nikki, what about yours? Have you got many things planned in the next few days? You're very much online, aren't you, all the time?
I've got no plans whatsoever. I'd probably end up phoning my parents, and that's to be pretty much the only contact with them I have. But I've got no means of getting over to my parents anyway, because they live like 2 hours drive away, and without a vehicle I can't get there.
So quite a quiet Christmas then.
Yeah.
Well, maybe if you've had a quiet Christmas and you'll have carried on with your crochet, and we'll be able to see the products of your labour afterwards. So definitely. So Mai, what about yourself? You've got
our youngest daughter is very local. She's on Hampton Magna as well. She's coming up to cook and have lunch with us on Christmas Day. Our daughter and the technician daughter and her husband and 2 lads. The one lad is living in Buxton, so the bubble numbers. So we refuse to go there politely. And so it'll be a very Christmas. But this is the thing that annoys me, is my comment at the beginning about 1939. They're on about people not seeing anybody. There are a lot of people who didn't see people for 3 or 4 years during the war.
Yeah, that's true, that is.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, being of that age, then they're not. We've had the service of remembrance, and we watched a 3-part program about the dam busters. And when you think of all the young lads that lost their lives, and these people today are not prepared to give up a few months.
Yeah.
Then,
Yeah.
It's,
very true.
I'm very old-fashioned.
Well,
I'm being the age of I am 84. We were in an area in a time that I think our people have had it the best. You know, we didn't have the even during the war, things have fallen into place more for our generation than the others.
Yeah.
So no.
No, you're right. Well, let's hope people are a bit sensible. We've all got loved ones, haven't we, that we want to make
Exactly.
sure sort of get
I'm expecting our first great-grandchild in April, a little girl. So I'd rather sort of not see anybody at Christmas and see her in April.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
So,
yeah, that's something nice to look forward to as well, isn't it? So that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. So Rose, what about yourself?
Well, I'm told Zoom is not very safe, so I'm not saying anything.
Oh, okay. And well, have a nice Christmas. I'm sure you'll hopefully whatever bubbles and whatever you choose to do. Yeah,
Well, I don't really have a bubble.
Don't have a bubble. Well, hopefully we're sort of a virtual bubble.
Oh no. No, I mean I don't have a local bubble. Let's put it that way. So I'm fed up with being on my own. I think the war was a very different situation. I think 9 months of being locked down is well enough.
Yeah. Well, I know. I'm sure you'll have your chats with your telephone befriender as well in that period, in the next few days as well. So hopefully, you know, you get to speak to somebody. And like I say, do join us next week, Rose, as well, next Wednesday. Jane, I've muted you again when your doorbell rang. So,
Louise, I'm going to have to go.
That's no problem. Hopefully see you next week, Jane.
Yes, thank you very much. I'll see you next week. Bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
And Howard, are you there still, Howard?
You mean Howard?
Well, I've called it. I called him Jenny before, but I know behind Jenny is Howard.
Chris.
Chris even. I'm going. No wonder. No, sorry. Because it's Chris Howard. I'm calling you by the surname instead. Sorry, Chris.
All right. It's never been called worse.
And have you and Jenny got bubble plans?
Yeah, well, we're going to our daughter's.
Oh,
Or one of them, anyway.
Good, good. Well, that'll be lovely. So hopefully, again, we'll be able to see you next week.
Yeah,
maybe.
Lily just finished.
Yes.
And then Paul. I think I've not asked Paul really. Are you
Yeah.
see family over Christmas?
I will be, yeah. I mean, my family live in London, so
Ah,
I've got to go to London. So
Oh,
I shall be careful how I get there, and hopefully I shall be all right. But I mean, I tend to agree with Rose. I mean, 9 months of not seeing anybody and being by yourself, I think, and I do agree that, you know, you've got to, as long as you're careful, I think you're okay. As long as you're sensible. Yeah.
yeah. Well, you look after yourself, and especially if you're using public transport to get to London. But you're quite right. You know, it's important if you can that you do get to see people, but just take appropriate precautions, isn't it? Really. And
Yeah.
Paul's been great because I think since the beginning of lockdown, he's been posting a picture every day on Facebook, on his Facebook page. And how many pictures now have you posted?
It's about 250 or something like that, I think.
250.
Yeah. I'm gonna run out eventually.
No. Well, maybe you need to snap a few over the Christmas period. And
Yeah, I'll get some parks and things like that. Go
Yeah.
for some walks.
That's great. And what about Kate?
Well, this sounds a bit strange, but I usually have Christmas Day on my own anyway. And I just treat it like a Sunday because I don't eat Christmas dinner. But my disappointment this year is not being able to go out for New Year's Eve because I normally go to a disco New Year's Eve. So I think that's what I'm going to miss the most.
Yeah. Oh, so you're a party animal then, Kate?
Yeah, I usually go to the pub in the Lord Nelson, and I usually go and I have a steak dinner, and then I have a disco, and I usually get picked up about 2 o'clock on New Year's Day. So I shall miss that this year.
Crikey, yeah, you definitely are a party animal then. Well, I don't think I'll be doing anything at 2 o'clock this New Year. Well, have a good time. I think the only person I've not probably asked is Robert. Have you got plans or not this
Well, for a start, I haven't got to work any overtime at work.
That's
So
good.
on the Thursday, Christmas Eve, and don't go back till the following Thursday, which is very nice.
Yeah, that's good.
When I usually go out with my mum and her friend, I usually go out. I've been going out with their other friend as well, because my mum's school friend and her friend, and then of course there's my brother. But then of course there's my brother's girlfriend and sister and her son that might go, and
Sounds
that's
like
what
a
I'm
big
worried
bubble.
about, because that'll be 7.
Yeah, that's
And I don't think I should be going.
no.
That's if they go, you see.
What, they normally go out for the Christmas lunch, you say?
No, I'm having one delivered anyway.
Right, okay.
But I'm not having whether to go to my mum's. I was even talking to her about it this morning, and I said I don't think I should be able to come because that'll be 7 of us.
Yeah, if you're more than 3 households, that will be a bit of a challenge, won't it? But
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
between if it's my brother's girlfriend, who I've not really seen, I very hardly see her anyway. I haven't seen since last Christmas because I never see her anyway. And she's there's her son, and then there's my mum and my brother. That'll be 4. But I've not really been in that same sort of bubble.
No.
With his girlfriend and son. So I don't know. I don't think I should be going.
Well, you'll have to make that decision for yourself, won't you?
Well, I will be. Yeah, I'm going to tell my brother that as well.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, look, there's lots of different things happening. And for those of you that have got plans and you're travelling, obviously, hopefully we'll see you next Wednesday. But, obviously.
I won't be here next Wednesday.
No, I won't be. I'm going to be travelling.
You're going to be travelling. Okay. So for those that aren't going to be here next Wednesday, safe travels, and make sure you have a happy and healthy Christmas. And
yeah.
we will
And
be
you.
reconvening on Wednesday, the 6th of January, just to catch up and see how people are after the Christmas break, all being well. We'll have a bit more news, I'm sure, about our services and whether or not we're able to start pilots, because I wanted to start planning for them again. But it has been a little bit subject to this whole, are we, aren't we, tier 2, tier 3, what's going on. So hopefully by then, do you want to say that a decision might get made? I'm not sure that the current administration are, you know, they're making lots of decisions that are changing them. But so anyway, we'll see what happens as of the 6th of January.
I don't think I can do the 6th of January because I've got a hospital appointment.
That's not a problem. We're going to be going every 2 weeks from there, but I will be putting it in writing to you, Robert, because you'll need a new link in the new year. Okay.
All right. Okay.
The link for this meeting will be working next week, and then it'll expire. Okay, after next Wednesday.
I'll say happy Christmas to all as well, because I won't be around.
Yeah, happy Christmas to everybody anyway.
Yeah, happy Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
And a Nadolig llawen and a blwyddyn newydd dda.
Catch up next year.
Yeah, well, good luck with your family as well, David, and have a healthy Christmas.
Yeah, thank you.
And like I say,
I'll see you.
Oh, golly. What's happened there?
Oh, he's done a.
Happy Christmas.
It's a very bottom there.
Goodbye then. Bye.
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 Bye. I'll see you. Bye then.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
See you
see
soon.
you all next week, those that are going to be here. Okay, guys.
Yep.
Should be there.
Yeah, we'll be here.
Bye.
Do you all get vaccinated when you're offered?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
It's free.
Yes. Right, bye then.
Technically, nothing's in life is free. Remember, we're all taxpayers. We've paid for it somehow.
Well, that's true.
And we'll be paying it for the next 30 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to put a dampener on it, but anyway.
I think if you get the right one, the 7 and 6pence. Well, I don't know how much it is these days, but the 7 and 6pence isn't too bad to pay for it.
7 and 6. What is that? 7 shillings.
7 shillings and 6pence.
No, shillings about 5 pence and 6pence is about
32 and a half.
That's, yeah. It's 75p, isn't it?
37.5.
You're showing. We're all showing our age if we can remember sixpences, and not that I can't remember. I do remember them. They were in the household, but yeah.
I still object to not being able to get a packet of chips for 3 threepence, let alone £1.20.
Yeah. A bag of chips for a penny, I think, or something. My mum used to. I'm sure it was like a penny or something like that.
Yeah, penny for chips.
When I was at school, a bag of chips used to be 12p.
Yeah.
That was in the 70s.
Yeah. Well, I remember you used to buy 2 ounces of sweets for 5 pence. You know.
Ounces?
I remember.
Yeah, 2 ounces. 2 ounces of sweets for 5 pence. Yeah.
Penny chews cost a penny.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And a packet of crisps used to cost 3 pence.
Yeah. God,
And if you had 50p, you could buy a load of sweets for 50p.
That's a shocker, isn't it, Kate?
Yeah.
It's a shocker, but
Yeah, but it would give you 50p in those days.
Oh, your great aunts, they always used to give you 50p, didn't they?
Yeah,
The
that's
great
true.
aunts and uncles.
Oh, you had very generous great aunts.
And if you
Yeah,
took
every time for a cup of tea, it's before you left, they'd put a 50p in your hand.
and if you what was I going to say? Oh bother, old age again. No, it's gone.
It's a flutterby. It'll flutter.
Yeah.
It'll come back.
We've not actually heard from Kate today. I feel like I must throw Kate onto the spot for 30 seconds, and then we're going to close down, and we'll see you all next week. But is there anything, Kate, that you wanted to say?
Oh.
As in, I'm saying Kate. She's currently listed as Sam Perkins' iPad, but
yeah, sorry, I've tried to change the settings. I don't know why it keeps coming up as my son on there. We have changed it, and I don't know why it keeps coming up as that. And my other iPad was out of charge, and I don't have any other technology to be able to join. So, just Paul, did you ever manage to speak to your supplier about your?
Oh right, no, I haven't yet. I kind of decided when we went into lockdown, I'd kind of put it on hold for a bit, but I will
Oh,
speak
okay.
to you, yeah, and do it.
Right, okay.
Yeah, and the other thing that the other thing that I did do was when we talked about robot vacs the other week, I got one of those.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, so I'm learning how to use it.
And are you pleased? Is it good?
Yeah, it's ever so good. It doesn't pick up bits and things, but it'll pick up. It picks up loads of dust, and so it's useful for that. But if you've got the stones that you're bringing on your shoes or anything like that, it doesn't like them very much. But
right.
Does it bounce off of walls? Does it sort of like navigate itself around your house, basically?
yeah, it's so good. It'll when it sees the wall, it'll start going the other way, and you've got some metal strips with it as well, so you can kind of set areas. They're like magnetic strips, and you roll them out, and then it's supposed to not go over them, but it kind of bodges them out the way, so you have to weigh them down with something. But it's useful for me because now it can get to things that I didn't get to, like under tables and things like that. So it's been.
How do you empty it? Is it a bag or is it?
It's a compartment, and you just pull the compartment out. It's like a drawer, and then
Right. So quite easy then.
yeah, and it does connect to the internet, but I haven't done that yet. I might actually leave that till the Vision Support Centres are open and get some help.
Yeah,
Some of them
that'd be good. Yeah.
produce maps of rooms, so it knows where bits of furniture are.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to do it each time. Now, whether it needs the internet to do that, I don't know, because it may well be storing these things somewhere else.
Yeah, I think it does. I think it probably needs an app or something that's got all the information on it.
Yeah. So, but the fact that it's capable of doing it at all, and some of them apparently empty themselves into where it goes back to charging.
Oh, right. Yeah, mine doesn't. It's only a.
They're quite fancy ones, but the fact that it's even capable of doing that, it goes back to its own charger and then charges itself up again, does it?
Yeah, it does that, and then when it's ready to go again, it'll go off and carry on cleaning if it's not finished.
Brilliant.
That sounds great. I tell you what, they should just put a little sort of hat on it to make it look like a dog, and then you just think you've got a pet going around, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd have to get a stuffed dog and put it on top of it.
Yeah.
There are videos on YouTube with cats sitting on such things.
I've seen one of the grass ones, a robo thing, very similar round one, and they go and empty themselves as well, don't they, Mark?
Yes.
They go around the lawn and just literally just keep it trimmed. Yeah.
The thing is, if you turn it into a dog, you'll get puddles as well as dust.
Yes, it might start emptying itself in places you don't want to empty.
Exactly. Yeah.
So definitely, yeah. Oh no, that's good. So, okay, guys. Unless there's anything else, I think we'll probably. It's been good to just chat today. Oh, Paul.
Yeah, just a quick thing. I've received a big calendar through the post, which I think I ordered from Warwickshire Vision, but nobody's been in touch for me to pay for it. So.
Oh, lucky you. I'll make a note of that, and I'll ask Gemma to track down. Gemma in the office. I say the office because it's from her home, but Gemma's managing all of that. So I'm glad you've received yours, because there have been a few delays with some of the calendars and the diaries actually being received, and we know that RNIB within their warehousing have actually had a COVID problem, and so I think it all got shut down for a while. So that's obviously delayed quite a lot of them posting out orders that we've made via them. But because Debbie's not received, you've not received yours yet?
Yeah, I did. My neighbour had it.
Oh, your neighbour had it. Okay. Oh well, at least that's been resolved then.
Yeah. I don't know how long he had it for.
So
he shoved a card through the door, so he had it.
So okay, well at least it's been tracked down, because
Yeah.
I think to try to get you a replacement, from what I've heard, I know they're so busy in there that it could take a while. So that's good. I'm glad that one's been resolved. So no, well, thanks, Paul, for your honesty. But I will, I'll mention it to Gemma, and she'll get round to calling you, I'm sure. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
You're going to London. You're not leaving the country, are you? Anytime soon?
No, I'm just away for those 5 days, and then
yeah, I'm only joking.
I was just going to say, I heard a story about the consequences of a dog which was ill and a robot vacuum cleaner, and what the result actually was.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm sure it's supposed to. Yeah, let's not go there. It's probably only supposed to be dry stuff.
No, you definitely don't want to go there.
So that's great. Well, hopefully we're going to see everybody that's here now again next week, and